So recently I did get it. Did I ever tell you this story? I don't think I have.
I think I've heard like pieces of it. Like it was a dog that was like, was your dog?
Okay, so yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So my wife, we rescued this dog from, or my wife did years ago. And we basically like, she was just at this really weird point in her life. Lonely, got a dog, and it was great. And she was amazing. But two things, she's a runner. Like she runs away. Mm-hmm. Can't open the door without her just going, phew.
Yeah.
And number two, she's dog aggressive. Like, not like I'm going to rip your head off aggressive, but just enough to like try and let you know who's boss. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't figure this out until like she got loose, or then we brought her around another dog and she like attacked the dog, right? This was like when Devin and I first met.
Yeah.
Long story short, my mother-in-law, when our first son was born, said she'd take the dog. So we didn't have to worry about it. We were going to be in the hospital for who knows how long. Mm-hmm. And she takes the dog, right? They have another dog. The two eventually get along. And then what ended up happening was she just never gave back the dog. Mm-hmm. She fell in love with the dog. We got 2 more dogs. Mm-hmm. Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, life moved on.
Yeah. Dog gets out multiple times to the point where, like, I don't know if you've heard that this can happen, but you can get, like, fined for your dog getting out and not attacking. Like, nobody ever sued us or sued her parents for anything like that. But the dog definitely, like, she got out and would go get aggressive toward, like, she's like what does she look like that I could describe to you? It's not like a massive dog, but she kind of has like that pit bully vibe, I guess you could say, that build, but she has like a longer snout. Okay. So like the build of like a aggressive dog, but she's like not. Anyway. Mm-hmm.
Like she's like short hair, like kind of like lab-ish.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of it. Like, you ever seen like a Catahoula? Mm-hmm. You know what Catahoula is? Mm-hmm. Without like all black. That's that's the build I'm thinking of. Okay. But then she's like musclier. Okay. So anyway, so kind of scary looking, right? Mm-hmm. When this dog's running at you, you're gonna freak out a little bit. Maybe people that would not
people
know.
Who are not dog friendly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What? Okay. Before I continue with this story, actually, I'll finish this and I'll ask a question because that's a really good one. But we bring the dog home because she gets out so many times that the Camus was like, you can't have the dog or you can't, if she gets out again, like, did they say you're going to go to jail? They said that they would do something.
I don't know.
And I was like, my mother-in-law was like, okay, freaking out, right?
Yeah.
So we had to take this dog in, and I was not sure how to introduce them to my dogs. Mm-hmm. My dogs are not, like, my dogs fight each other sometimes, but they're just being dogs.
Yeah.
Like, not, like, very rarely. Usually it's when it's, like, breakfast time, and one finishes before the other one, and then the other one gets angry because they're still hungry. And
yeah, it's like an argument. It's like they tell each other off, and then they like go their separate ways and figure it out later.
Yeah, they're fine. And I feel like that's normal. Mm-hmm. Like, but anyway, Violet is the opposite, which is her name. This is the dog's name. Yeah. So you like introduce her in front of a dog, and she like sounds like she wants to rip its head off. Mm-hmm. Does a scary growl, whatever, and then she'll just like go for it, right? Mm-hmm. So I said I let them. My tactic was, you could tell me if I was way wrong here or where I effed up, but my tactic was, one, we brought her in the house. And we kept them separate for like 4 or 5 days. Okay. And I left Violet. Violet was in a crate. Anytime we brought them in the house, the other dogs in the house, like, they were completely separated. Mm-hmm. And then after I exposed Violet to most of the house, right? So I figured, from my knowledge, you want them to get used to the scent of another dog and that smell, and have it not be so shocking to them. Yeah. So I was like, one day, I can't do this anymore. I literally, like, we have to rip the Band-Aid off because I cannot. Yeah. Like, I'm like, trying to keep 3 dogs apart is freaking hard.
Yeah. And you're like, everything has to be so structured.
Right.
To like make sure that they're all like getting their needs met,
right?
But like not meeting each other.
I felt like half the day I was like babysitting dogs.
Yeah, and
I don't have time for this, right?
Yeah,
I barely have time for 2. I didn't have enough time for 3, but anyway, So I was like, you know what? Because I was nervous for this, right? I didn't, but in my head I knew they would fight it out, or like they would probably go at each other for a second, and then they get over it. And so I knew I trusted my dogs. I knew that both my dogs would probably get upset if she came at her, but they would never initiate something at first. Like I know I have very like patient dogs. And so I basically let Violet out upstairs in our house. And I had my dogs come in. I let my dogs get used to the scent and the smell. And then I just opened a door and I let Violet out. Not on a leash, not on anything, right? I just let her out. And my dog went and instantly wanted to sniff her, right? And she instantly attacked one of my oldest male dog, which is not the one that thought was gonna be the problem. They fought for like 3 seconds, and of course I was like telling them to stop, but it was like a 3 or 4 second ordeal, and they just left each other alone. And ever since then, they don't care. Yeah. So I'm sure that could have gone really bad. Yeah. But I was like, now they've like over the last few weeks, they've fought a couple more times, but not like, it's not that I'm grabbing its neck, you know? It's actually really funny. Yesterday I walked up to my female dog, my female lab and Violet, and they fought for a second, and they stayed up like in this like hugging position for no joke, like a minute and a half, just staring at each other like this. Yeah. Like they weren't even, it was such
were they like posturing? Like, yeah. Were they like,
they were both up like, no, they like she had her arms on her shoulder, and the other one had her arms on the other shoulder. Yeah. Like face. It was such a weird, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Yeah. And I just stared at them.
Yeah. I will say your females are probably more likely to get in more long-term fights than with the male. Yeah. Just because the hormones, female dogs just get crankier with each other.
Right. So what should I have done by book?
I mean, you did pretty good for like not having the book. Okay, cool. But honestly, there's no book. But yeah, like just having them in separated but in each other's spaces and getting used to each other's smell is really good. Another thing that I really like is parallel walks. So just go out for a walk and have somebody. I would say just bring 2 dogs at a time. And
one person like walk on the other side of the street. Yep. Together though. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And then you can like reduce that space, and then but it's usually right when they see each other, when they're on leash. It's right at the beginning that they like get all stressed out, and and so if you can just like get past that and like walk together, and then like one like trails behind and like gets one scent and trails behind, gets the other, and then eventually you like come together, but you're like the focus is the walk, not whatever's going on between the 2 of them. Yeah. That can kind of help dissipate stuff. And then also you're out on neutral ground as well. Like it's nobody's house that they need to protect. And then, but yeah, like the parallel walks are great. And then also, I would say probably introducing one at a time is probably
set up both ideal. Of them. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. I just figured that she would, like if they were going to get pissed, like I'd rather have them all get pissed than just like.
You just wanted it over with.
Well, I just wanted to get it over with. Like I was just, I don't know. I guess that was my thought, which I could see that. Yeah. I probably would have been less stressful on Violet if I just had one, but I knew either way, like she was going to get angry. Yeah. Dude, like a few days later though, I woke up in the middle of the night and I didn't wake up. Like I heard them get into a scuffle. Yeah. Because I think it was like 2 days after we introduced them. They got into another scuffle, and she made the mistake. I left a fresh thing of sourdough bread on the countertop.
Sourdough gets us all.
And like, my wife even asked me before we go to bed. She's like, "Should I take the sourdough? Like, should I put it away?" I'm like, "Babe, one was asleep here. The other 2 were asleep over here." Yeah. But the second I went upstairs, like I heard some rustling around. So anyway, I'm watching TV. It's like 11:30 at night. Both my kids are asleep. My wife is like 90% asleep. And all of a sudden I hear just like them freaking out, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, come on, man, guys. I thought we were past this, right? And I go downstairs and there is blood.
Oh.
Everywhere.
Oh no.
It looked like a murder scene. Like so bad, dude.
Yeah.
To the point where I was like, okay, what just happened, guys? It was 2 seconds.
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Yeah.
And what ended up, I saw my older male dog. His name's Murphy. He's a black lab, like just this big burly dude. And he had the whole loaf of bread in his mouth. He just had like this big ass loaf of bread and he just biting on top of it. And he has a hole right here on the top of his snout. And anytime he would breathe, well, she bit him right here, but I think his nose was bleeding.
Oh.
And so anytime he'd breathe, he would breathe out. And he was like, I was like, you know what, man? I was like, one, get off my carpet. Luckily, I have hardwood floors most of my house, but he did bleed on the carpet a little bit. The other dog, I knew she was like over there, like hiding under something.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, man, you won that.
Yeah.
You go eat that bread, bro. I let him outside, and I was like, go outside. You know, I knew he was fine.
The fight was over by the time you got down there. They had settled it. It was just, It
was a lot of blood, though.
Yeah.
I was, and I like by the time it was, because he was leaking.
Yeah.
Like I was like, well, I don't see a cut, but I'm gonna at least separate you unless you're not dying. So I'm gonna go let you finish your bread, and then I'll take care of you. And it's a funny thing. I let him out, not even 3-4 minutes after that, he stopped bleeding. Just wasn't bleeding anymore.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay. What was going on? Because I figured I would go out there and he'd still be whatever, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody was separated.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, dude, he won that bread. Mm-hmm. That was we cleaned up all the blood. For those of you that don't know how to clean up blood off of your carpet, apparently hydrogen peroxide works really well.
Yeah.
And but it's still there.
Yeah.
Can't get it away. It's not terrible, but like there's a few spots.
Yeah.
My wife came downstairs and she thought I was dead. She didn't know that the dogs. She just like heard me go downstairs and woke up from a sleep and looked downstairs. Like it's like our house is like, you have this like stairway, right? Mm-hmm. And she looks down there and she goes, Austin, are you okay? And I'm like, it's not me. It was the dogs. But she tells a story how she tells it. When she walked downstairs, she thought that I was like, there's a murder in our house or something. There's a burglar and I had to fight him off.
The top of the nose, the tips of the ears, and the tips of the tails really bleed a lot on dogs. Yeah.
I should have had some styptic powder and I probably would have helped, right?
Yep.
Are you supposed to put that on nails?
Yeah, it's just general bleed stop powder. Yeah, you can use. I mean, you're not supposed to use it on like a deep wound or anything like that, but like just small stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know it, but they're good now.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. My own dog is. I made the mistake when she was a puppy. I used to. We lived in Colorado at the time, and they had a lot of really great dog parks, and I worked for FedEx in the morning, and then Wyatt was in the military, so he was gone, whatever to whatever hours they felt like he should be gone to every day.
Right.
And so I used to bring her to the dog park almost every day.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
But the problem with doing that with a young dog is that they think that every interaction with another dog is like 100% play all the time. Mm. So then it's just like they see another dog and they get so excited, and then you put a leash on them and you meet them in a leashed environment, and your dog is used to just like running and playing and all the other dogs being like their best friends.
Yeah.
And only about 30% of dogs are dogs that should be at the dog park. So a lot of people don't bring their dogs to the dog park because it's not fun.
No.
But yeah, she would meet these other dogs on leash, and she wouldn't know what to do with that energy. Like, I can't run. I can't we can't play like this. And so what ended up happening is that turned into frustration, and that turned into nipping other dogs.
Really?
Yeah. And she's still like, I've worked with her on it a lot, and she still is really hit and miss on meeting other dogs.
Yeah.
If we do parallel walks, like I would say probably 90% of dogs, she can get to a place where she'll play with them and she'll be good. But it's always that initial meeting, and especially on leash, it's just like there's frustration and they don't know what to do with it. And it's not natural to meet another dog nose to nose. And that's how you meet on a leash. So it's an interesting thing that we
How'd you get her? So you just deal with it? Do you just know now?
Yeah. And like, I mean, we have acreage and stuff like that. And so honestly, like anytime we're bringing her in somewhere where she's meeting other dogs, like we're aware of it. And so we can like handle the situation, like to like make sure she's like chilling out, not freaking out about anything.
What do you think is like the best way to approach like another dog? Like when you have a dog, like what's the most respectful thing that you could do when there's another, like say you're walking on the sidewalk, you got a person with some dogs here and a person with some dogs here. What should both parties do you think?
Honestly, I would like on leash, avoid it.
Just like
I would literally, I would just like, unless like both parties have said like, if somebody says, can my dog meet your dog? And the other party says yes,
right.
then you can approach. But I think just, it's such an unnatural thing for dogs to meet that way, nose to nose, that it's just like, I don't think that it should be offensive at all for somebody to say, no, I prefer if my dog doesn't meet yours.
Right. And I feel like some people also though too are not like some people are like afraid to say something. Like whenever you like have a dog that like she, is scared or whatever, or doesn't be good. Like I feel like that communication is so important. Yeah. Especially like if you're in an area where there is more dogs.
Yeah. And like, having a dog that doesn't necessarily like meet other dogs very well all the time. I think it like within like parks and things like that, there is a leash law, like keep your dog on the leash. And I think it's really important to respect that, because
what about like the beach?
The beach is kind of a lawless land. If your dog,
you're like, I'm not putting a leash on.
Yeah, if your dog doesn't like get along with other dogs, don't bring him to the beach. Unless you're like going at a time that there's not going to be other people there, and you have enough space to be able to see if other people are approaching, other dogs are approaching, to be able to call your dog back to you. Right. Kind of thing. Yeah, but you like don't go to the crowded beach with your scared dog or anything else like that.
For sure.
But yeah, it's like, people who have scared dogs, or people who have dogs that aren't great at meeting other dogs, like they should be able to go out and bring their dog for a walk too, and not have to feel like their dog has to meet every other dog on the trail. Exactly. Because honestly, very friendly dogs are half of the problem as well, because people are like, oh, don't worry, he's friendly, and they come running up. And a dog who might regularly get along with a lot of dogs, when they're confronted like that, it's like, whoa, like if somebody just ran up and hugged me, I would probably freak out a little. Well,
for sure. Yeah. I feel like there's this conception that just because your dog is friendly doesn't mean that everybody else's is, or doesn't mean that like my dog doesn't get anxious or overwhelmed for any reason. I feel like some people are just so careless. Yeah. At least I in my experience, I feel like I've witnessed that.
Yeah. I hate it. Well, I don't necessarily hate it, but my husband hates that I'm the person who's yelled at a few people with off-leash dogs. He's like, don't yell at them. And I'm like, it's a giant dog and mine's only 20 pounds.
I think it's silly though. Like, I really do.
Yeah. And like, all I say is like, it's only if their dog is like approaching us. Like if their dog is off leash and they're like doing their own thing, staying away from us, I don't care. But it's if they're approaching us and they're running behind being, oh, he's friendly, then I will say, can you please leash your dog? And I usually will say it twice, and then I have the luxury of having a small dog, and you can just pick her up every time. And I can't tell you how many times though I have picked her up, and that has set that friendly dog off though. And like they are like jumping up, trying to nip at her as I'm holding her.
Yeah.
And so
what kind of dog do you have?
She's a mutt. She's like a cattle dog mix. Like she looks like a healer, but she's really small, like only 20 pounds.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. See, I feel like I don't know. That's a one that sounds like an extremely awkward interaction.
Yeah.
Like every time.
Yeah.
You're like, can you not?
Yeah, and the thing, like, I love dogs. Like, I'm totally a dog person. Like, it's what I do for work, all this stuff. Like, I have no opposition to, like, dogs at any point. But it's just a respect thing.
You feel like there's, you ever hear about, do you think there's such thing as what we would just call, like, the golden dog? That is just, like, perfect. And, like, you ever see those old men walking on the side of the street or old women or whatever, and they have their dog has no leash.
Yeah.
It does not leave their side.
Yeah.
And it's just like perfect.
Yeah.
Do you think that is okay?
Yes. I think that it's just not very common.
It's not.
And I think it's like typically that is honestly an older dog as well. And it's like that's the routine that they've had for their whole life. And they have just learned that nothing they see on their walk is going to get a rise out of them.
Don't care anymore.
And so they're just.
That's gotta be, could you imagine that? Like, could you imagine being that guy or that woman that just like you've developed that bond with your dog like so well that like that would be so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably I feel like what breeds that is loneliness. Like lonely people who literally you could spend that much time with your dog to develop that type of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, all it takes though is like one off-leash dog who behaves inappropriately.
Yep, to ruin that.
To ruin it for them. Yeah, who runs up, bites them, whatever, and then that dog can't have that life anymore.
What should one do if a dog is running at them and you are say you don't have a dog with you and there's a dog that looks like he's charging at you, what should you do?
It's a tough question. I mean, I would say don't run. If you run, they're going to chase you. They're going to nip at your heels. It's a hard one. 'Cause I mean, what?
I don't know, dude. Just you got nowhere to go. What do you do? Do you curl up in a little ball? Do you just like, because I like how much of dogs we'll just call them, dogs have consents like a lot, right? Even we talk about this with bees do this, where they can sense your fear and like what I'm talking about. It's like that adrenaline hit that you get when you're scared.
Yep.
Your body releases a certain chemical.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Dogs can smell everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So when that happens, like that's why it's the same thing again with bees. Whenever you're around bees, if you feel yourself getting nervous, those things are just they're going to chase you.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say with dogs, I would say probably your best scenario is like, I mean, if you can't like remove yourself from the situation, like if you're in the middle of the street and there's no fence you can get behind or anything like that, I would say just like don't run away, A, and then B, try to not move unpredictably.
That's a good one.
Yeah, because often like kids and dogs often have struggles because kids are unpredictable.
Right.
They come in the room and they throw their hands up and they're flailing and screaming and the dogs are like, that is not how humans are supposed to
What's going
react.
on? This is
like,
not normal.
What are they going to do next?
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. I never thought about it like that. I think that there's been a few occasions where I've definitely gotten nervous of dogs like approaching you and you're like, oh, how's this dog going to react? Or, even if a dog is just like, I don't know, what do you do typically when you've never met a dog before? Like even just meeting dogs.
Well, definitely ask if the owner is there, ask them if it's okay to pet their dog, and like the appropriate way to greet a dog is actually don't put your hand out. It's always our natural reaction to be like, oh, sniff me.
Right.
But it's like you're just putting yourself right in their space, right in their bite zone. So if they like were not comfortable with you approaching them,
Right.
You just put your hand right out there to get bit. But yeah, it's actually crouch down off and have the dog to your side, and then let them approach you.
Okay.
So like talk to them and like try to get them to come to you.
Because that's like a signal that they want to smell you or like then you can like.
Yeah, and like don't like lean over them, or like just respect their space.
You want to make yourself seem smaller.
Yeah. If you crouch down and you turn to the side, then you're not like posturing towards them.
Right.
Like it's not like a threat kind of thing. So funny story.
I like funny stories.
You said that your dogs, their fight was over a loaf of bread.
It's still funny to think about.
Yeah, a few months, like years ago, we were watching a dog for my in-laws, and they had gone to the East Coast, and they were like adopting some kids and stuff, and so they were gone for like over a month, and so yeah, we were watching their dog for them, and my dog initially doesn't get along very well with the other dogs. We went through all the steps to make sure that they got along really well, and one day when I was at work, my dog, who never steals anything off of the counter.
Oh,
she's
no.
this little 20-pound dog. Like, it's a big jump for her to get to the counter. Stole a stick of butter off of the counter.
Ew, gross.
Yeah, like, stick of butter. And, like, I found it, like, half-eaten on the floor. Yeah. And she and that other dog had gotten in a scuffle over it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it was, they over time just were figuring out that they didn't really like each other that much. They could tolerate each other, but it was like, every week there was like another scuffle. And so it did kind of get worse. And it was a good thing when they came home and were able to take her, because they just were never able to figure out how to get along with each other. But yeah, like a stick of butter.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
It's so weird that like dogs are, I don't know, like so, I mean, I guess it's not weird. It makes total sense. Like if that was the most important thing in the world to you, food.
Yeah.
Like,
they're scavengers. Like
dude.
That's all that dogs are bred to be. I mean, well, okay.
What about cats? Like, what about like introduce, like, cause I'm the type of guy where like, for some reason, I am way more uncomfortable with meeting a cat for the first time.
Yeah. Oh,
than
me
I am
too.
a dog.
Yeah.
Because those nails and those teeth, like, dude, you ever had a cat just like kind of like freak out on you? You're not controlling that thing.
Oh no.
No way.
Yeah.
Like if a dog tries to freak out, I know I can control like a mildly sized dog and have it not bite my arm off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like a cat does its thing and it just and it the second it's like
and their claws are just like self-sharpening. And so they're meant to slice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You ever had a really bad cat interaction?
I mean, I've had a lot of cats that I haven't necessarily gotten along with. Yeah, no. I think that's. I mean, I've never had one like, just like out of the blue attack me or anything.
No, me either. Yeah. But like, it's definitely like they're just like mischievous little bastards.
Yeah, and I think they don't like dogs have been bred to like want to be your friend. Mm-hmm. Cats are like I can do all of my own hunting. I can take care of myself. So like this relationship between us is kind of like it's on my terms. Like if I want to be your friend, then we'll be friends.
Dude, I feel like I would never be able to like there's something about like even like bobcats. You think about bobcats, like that thing would destroy you.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to there's this movie that was out a few years ago. I think it was on Amazon. It was about this bear, and this totally different subject, but like the bear like was like hunting these people, right? Mm-hmm. It's not Cocaine Bear either, by the way. It's a different one. But it's about like they don't portray it being a bear that's gonna end up killing these people.
Yeah.
But we can leave this out, but because it's really pointless. But dude, ever since then, I've had this dramatic fear of like camping in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Of a bear straight up like mauling my tent and just like, because there's no protectiveness in there.
Yeah, no, tents. Yeah, like just laying in a tent. It's like, oh, I just have this sheet of fabric that I've decided makes a room, and it's supposed to protect me from.
I felt the first time we went camping after we watched this movie, because what ended up happening, the bear just like literally obliterates these people in their tent, like breaks the tent open, eats the dude's like face off. It shows you everything. It's crazy. It's disgusting. In fact, if you like weird stuff like that, I would suggest watching it. But if you don't watch it, because you will never camping. Yeah. You'll always be afraid that a bear's going to come in your tent and rip your face off.
Yeah. Yeah, like bears are like, I would say I view bears a little bit more like dogs. Like they are related.
Are they?
Yeah, like bears and dogs are like one of the, like when you look at the tree things,
sure.
You know, like bears and dogs are like
super close.
Yeah. So it's bears and dogs, and then like wolves split off.
I guess that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Bears kind of do have like a same structure, like face wise, and like I feel like if you shaved a dog or shaved a bear.
Yeah.
Like it probably looked like a big dog.
Yeah. And like they're both like just animals that like scrounge for food. Mm-hmm. Like they can eat other animals, but they don't like it's not like their main thing to go hunt down another animal. Like they can eat like berries and dead things. And
is there really a type of dog that is more aggressive than other dogs? Like people have this thing about pit bulls, right? Mm-hmm. Like how much of that is actually true versus it being like the situation?
The situation is like 90% of the time, because actually the most aggressive dog breeds are Chihuahuas and wiener dogs. And it makes sense. They're small and they're trying to protect themselves.
So why do you think people? Do you ever remember what happened, like, and why pit bulls? Was it because of dog fighting? Like why they got such a bad rap?
I think that was a big part of it. And I think like just the media, like once like somebody, like the media just like makes things bigger than they need to be. Like it was before it was pit bulls, it was
German Shepherds.
Yep. And then in like Rottweilers and Dobermans. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Dobermans like were like,
Dobermans, those I feel like scary. Are just big babies.
But but
like every Doberman I've ever met actually has been like the most like softest like
they're so
baby
sweet.
Dog.
They're so sweet. But yeah, like I can remember like what was it? There was like this really old like 90s cats versus dogs or something, and I think the villain dog was a Doberman or something like that.
Oh, that would make sense. So they just attached it and everybody just started assuming that. That's really weird because I feel like I'm 31. Mm-hmm. I don't know, how old are you?
28.
Okay, so probably around the time we were kids, before 10 years old, I would think, I noticed like when I feel like pit bulls got into this really, really bad rap, I guess now. Yeah. Wasn't there like some things where they were going to ban them?
There are actually some cities. I think Denver has banned them, and like you can actually write it into your rental agreement. Like your landlord can say you can't have a aggressive dog breed, and they've defined aggressive dog breeds as Dobermans, German Shepherds, pit bulls, that kind of stuff, and it's not really like founded.
So like, has anyone ever done a study on that?
I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't.
It just seems silly to me as to how you can assume. Like, I can assume that some breeds, like a bigger dog, might have less of a. I feel like, I guess what I'm getting at is I feel like pit bulls, because of their looks, mm-hmm. and maybe Dobermans too, to some extent, like mm-hmm. they have a higher chance of somebody getting nervous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's why you wouldn't assume that Chihuahuas and wiener dogs would be the most. They don't look like they want to rip your head off.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like when a Chihuahua bites you, like you just say like, oh shoot. Mm-hmm. But like if a larger dog bites you, everybody's gonna tell you go report that to the police.
Right.
And so,
wow.
like,
What a good point.
So just like the data on it is very skewed because, like, I mean, you see those videos all the time of people like holding their chihuahua and like doing nail trim or something, doing something that is pissing that dog off. And they're like,
yeah,
it's so
can't hurt
funny.
me.
It's so funny. This tiny dog is biting me.
Right.
And it's like, it's not funny because that's not a behavior you would accept from a larger dog. So why are you accepting it from your small dog?
I have literally never thought about it like that. How they're just not set up. Like how would you even gauge that? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I did have wiener dogs growing up though, and they were the coolest dogs I ever had.
My sister has one, and I love him. He's a great dog.
But I feel like, okay, say you first get a dog. Like when you're going to get a dog, this doesn't even have to be about a dog. I feel like it'd be like, this should go for all pets, but like, what do you do? I know you're probably most familiar with dogs because you used to train them. When you go, like, say you have a litter of dogs and you're going to go get a new dog, right? What should you look for in the puppy, or does it matter?
I don't like they do temperament testing on puppies, and like they'll pick out, like, for service dogs and stuff, there are things that they'll do to like pick out which ones they think are going to be the best service dogs, but I don't know how accurate it is. I would say just if you're picking out a pet for yourself, do research on the breed. Because I've seen so many times that people pick out a dog because of how it looks, or just thinking it's a cool breed, or what, like seeing other people with that breed and being like, oh, like that's the best dog for them, but not realizing how much energy they're putting into training it or whatever. When I was training, I had a couple who had previously just had Lhasa Apsos, and they called me and they said, we just adopted a Doberman and we're so excited. And I was like, this is you've only ever had Lhasa Apsos, and like, do you have a yard? Like, are you ready to like bring this dog for walks? Like, Dobermans are very, very smart. And they're like, no, we like them because they like look nice and they like don't really shed a lot. And like, that was one of the few training clients that I just was like, I'm sorry, but I can't. Like, I worked with them for a little while, but I was like, I'm not seeing you guys working on the stuff that we're working on, that I'm asking you to. So we're not going to make progress. And so unless you make a change, like, this dog is not going to turn out like your Lhasa Apsos did.
Do you feel like, I feel like that's a common thing for people to get a dog and not realize the responsibility that, is beheld in that, I guess. When you were training dogs, like, how often were people coming to you and just being like, hey, I have an aggressive dog, what do I do? Like, what was the most common thing that people would come to you and say, I need help with?
It was mostly just basic obedience.
Yeah.
Like, my dog jumps on people when they walk in the door. But like, just not knowing like where to start with like teaching their dog to have just calm behavior, like just to be able to set their dog up to be successful in life.
What do you think is the biggest because I know that food helps. We've talked about this a little bit before. The type of food that you feed your dog, like whether it's raw food or regular food. You talked about a study that you did when you went to a dog training course, and the aggressive dogs, they switched them to, that's one of my like things that I remember the most from that. But is that, do you think, a key player in many other things of how dogs react to certain things and their feelings?
Yeah,
because
definitely.
their
gut is thrown off. Yeah.
Is it because they're having an upset stomach, or do you think it's just because of the nutrients and stuff? Like, where does that go?
I mean, it's all kind of anecdotal. It was a rescue that I was working with. It wasn't really a formal study, but I'm sure that there are some out there they just, any of the dogs that were having issues, whether it be anxiety, aggressive, whatever, switching to a different diet, like they were just able to cope with their own emotions better. So I would guess that it's probably like twofold. Like, I mean, I'm sure like your brain suffers if you're not getting the right nutrients.
Yeah.
And then also just like, yeah, if you're not feeling your best, then you don't really want to, you are kind of more in a self-preservation kind of mode.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you something that I personally believe that is very controversial in the dog world.
What?
I don't believe that we should be putting e-collars on dogs in training.
Like shock collars?
Yes.
Or vibrating collars?
They call it a stim collar now.
A what?
A stim collar.
Okay, so what? Okay, this is a good one. Because I have one for my dog.
Yeah.
I have a I don't know, it's a vibrating one.
Yeah.
It just goes.
Yeah.
But no offense taken. I'll be your test subject. Tell me why I shouldn't do it.
So I think that it's a tool that should be your last resort.
Yeah.
I think that if you have a trainer that you're working with, they should never have to use one. Because all you're doing is you're applying a positive punishment to a situation, and most behavior problems you can change by either placement of a reward or
you mean negative?
It's actually positive punishment. So
Yeah,
I'm going to go really far. Okay, so there's 4 quadrants of behavior.
Okay.
So it's positive punishment, negative punishment, positive reinforcement, and negative reinforcement.
Okay.
So positive punishment is adding a punishment.
Okay.
Negative punishment is taking a punishment away. So positive punishment would be like a stim collar, a e-collar kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Negative punishment would be a really common example would be a prong collar. A prong collar is, as long as the behavior is continuing, the pain will also continue.
Got it. Okay.
Like it's but as soon as the behavior you want to see is achieved, then the punishment goes away.
Okay.
Positive reinforcement would be the behavior happens and then a reward is applied.
Mm-hmm.
And a reward it doesn't have to be food. It can be attention. It can be, like the dog sits, you let him go outside,
sure.
Like whatever. It can be anything.
Right.
And then negative reinforcement is it's always the hardest one for me to remember an example for. Removing the reinforcement.
Removing the reinforcement?
Mm-hmm.
You better figure this one out.
I
You're
know,
deep now.
I know it's been a long time since I've explained it because I haven't done training in 4 years.
It's okay.
Negative reinforcement. Now I just look like I just set myself up like
no, it's fine.
Like I know things and
okay,
I don't.
so what should explain to me why? Okay, so you have the collars, both shock collars and vibrating collars or beeping collars.
Yeah. So yeah, what happens a lot of times is there is a vast difference in quality on these collars, and so I think there's a lot of very cheap ones, and like especially bark collars. Like please don't ever put a bark collar
When
on
a dog barks, it shocks him.
Yeah, because the bark collars they don't always they're not always accurate.
Right. So
and
it's like punishing a dog when it shouldn't be.
Yeah, and they can go off for things that they're not supposed to. And then also a lot of times the bark collar, like the dog doesn't understand that it's their own barking that's causing the noise.
Sure.
And so it's like a lot of times the example is like neighbor kids are running the fence and the dog runs out and goes and barks at the neighbor kids.
Then he thinks that it's like.
Thinks it's the neighbor kids.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And so the punishment is perceived as like being
right
something else, and you end up going into all this fear stuff, which is a lot harder to get through. But yeah, like just there's so much stuff that we can do to set our dogs up, like just going through like a basic obedience class, things like that.
Yeah.
That you can do totally rewards based. So why like we should be putting more energy into stuff like that and building a positive relationship with our pets
versus a negative one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what should somebody do? Like my instance, in my instance, my male lab, Murphy, he has always anxiously barked. So like in the morning when he wakes up and he wants food, he barks. He doesn't bark any other time. Like literally never.
Yeah.
Like it's the most frustrating thing in the world. I was like, because I get what we had our kids.
Yeah.
I would get so mad because every morning he would wake up at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, ready to eat. Anytime he heard a noise, like if I rumbled or I moved in the bed, he would wake up and he would just start barking and he'd wake my baby up and my wife. And I was like, dude, I cannot do this anymore. So I started, I couldn't figure out how to get him to not do that in the morning. And so we got a vibrating beeping shock collar. The first model we got didn't work. Like I couldn't even figure out it was a piece of shit. Couldn't figure out how to use it. And the second one we got works really, really well. And it's just we don't even need, I think we shocked him one time with it and I just beep him because it's the thing that it beeps before you, like when you hit the shock button, it beeps anyway. And now I just use the beeper in the mornings. Like if he wakes up and I'm like, it's not time yet, I just beep him and then he stops barking.
Yeah. I mean,
what should I do to as a somebody who doesn't understand how else to get out of that situation? Because now like it's to a point now where I don't even have to really use it. Like he doesn't even like I lose the remote. That's how often I use it.
Yeah. I would say train an alternate behavior.
Like
so like he gets up, he's hungry, teach him to pick up a pillow and bring it to you. There's a pillow in his mouth, he can't bark at you anymore.
Oh, that's really smart. Okay. So teach him. So when he wakes up and he barks, go put a pillow in front of him. And then like when he puts it or like train. So how would you approach that?
I would say you'd probably want to like start teaching him like the preparation for a meal is about to be to happen. I would say until he gets that bowl of food, he needs to have a toy in his mouth. Like teach him to hold on to that toy until it's time to eat.
He does listen to me when he knows. Like I have. Here's how silly he is. I think it's actually what I've come to learn is it's anxiousness that he has in the morning, because he like will, once he knows I'm coming with the food and I get the food, like he's like he can't even sit still. Like he's so excited, he cannot sit still. He just like does this with his feet, and he's like freaking like shaking. He's so excited, but I'll take a video of it actually one of these mornings and I'll show you how they're both really good. I can feed, so I have the slow feeders. So I'll put the kibble in the slow feeders and I can set it both of them down, and they used to just go for it, right?
Yeah.
But now I have them, I'll videotape this tomorrow for you, because it's one thing as a dog owner I'm really proud of, where I was able to accomplish that with my dogs. But I set it down and I got them to a point where like until I say okay, like I just say wait, I'll set the food bowls down and they'll each go sit right next to their bowl, and Murphy will just like do one of these like, can I go yet, Dad? Can I go yet? And I'll even close, because I feed them outside on our porch, for the reason of them getting too close together. I want them to be farther apart.
Yeah.
And I close the door and they'll hear me and wait for me to say okay. Like I'll just stand there and stare at them until they calm down. Test them a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they both just like go to town out. It's just like, I don't understand how I was able to train them to do that, but not like anything else. Like, I guess they know how to sit and do everything else, but I'm just not, I can't figure out the barking thing in the morning, but that does make sense.
Yeah. And barking, I will say, is a really hard one because it's like, I mean, it causes a negative reaction in us. Like, just there's something primal inside of us that, like, a dog, especially a big dog barking, it just, like, it jolts you a little bit and you're, like, already a little bit irritated.
I think it's also difficult because it's something that you can't train. Like, when they do it, it's done.
Yeah. Yep. And for them, honestly, I think a lot of times, even for the dog, it's reflexive. Like, I don't think that they really realize, like, what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like if you got scared and you, like, yelled because you were scared,
Sure.
like, it's not voluntary.
What do you think is something to do? Because Murphy is super anxious, like a really, really anxious dog. Like, not when but I guess it's only when food is present. And I don't know if it's anxiousness or if he's just so excited that he can't contain himself.
He's a lab.
Yeah.
Some labs actually have a genetic mutation where they will never feel full. And so, like, he may
just like want it that bad.
Yeah, he might just believe he's starving to death.
Sorry, Murph. Okay, here's another question. I've been feeding both of my dogs the same amount, except when my other dog had puppies. My other lab, she had 4 litters, 3 or 4 litters of puppies. Such beautiful dogs.
I love labs. I grew up with labs.
Yeah, she is the sweetest thing in the world too. But they both eat the same amount. They're both almost the same size, like build wise. But the female is like 20 pounds heavier. Like, the male is a little bit taller. You can tell that, like, they're kind of like this a little bit. But she's, like, super fat, and I can't get him to gain any weight. Like, he doesn't look malnourished.
Yeah.
But they both eat the same amount.
Yeah.
Why is one so much fatter than the other one? Exercise?
Exercise, hormones. I don't know.
It's a female thing, huh?
Yeah.
Kidding.
But is he, like... I would say if he's not, like, thin, like, if you're not, like, worried about his weight, I wouldn't try to put
worried.
weight
I'm
on
just
him.
like, why is he, like, I don't know. I'm just always like, I'll take a picture of him tomorrow. I'll show you.
Okay.
Because now I'm just curious. I'm just, like, doing that thing where I'm, like, overanalyzing everything. But
I way prefer to have a dog on the thin side than on the fat side. Just because, like, if you think about, like a healthy lab, they, like, I mean, they vary so much, but, like, probably, like, 75, 80 pounds. For them to be, like, 10 pounds overweight, like, think of that as a percentage of their body weight.
Yeah, in perspective, that's massive.
That's huge. And so it's just all that extra weight that they're carrying around on their joints and their back and stuff. And so I think, I mean, that's a lot of times what their hip, like most large dogs, their hips go out as they get old. And so if you can keep the weight off of their hips, then they're better off.
What do you think about, what was I going to say? Dude, this is so frustrating because I had like 7 good questions. Like, I do this for a living at this point. So I feel like I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you're
for
doing
somebody
great.
Who doesn't know anything.
Well, I mean, I'm not necessarily helping you out very well.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are, dude. This is good. This is good. I'm trying to think of. I had another good question for. I did want to talk about that. Okay, so why do you think that? Why not a vibrating collar? Do you think it's just the same concept? There's just another.
Because it can be just like, depending on the animal, that can be just as aversive to them as a shock collar. Like, and a lot of times the vibrating collar, like, is loud as well.
Their hearing is different.
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, think about that. Like, just to have something suddenly without you have no control, like shocking or vibrating your head.
I could see that.
It's a little alarming.
I could see that.
But yeah, there's so much and there's so many resources out there now on free training resources and things like that I understand people going there out of desperation. But it's just I've seen so many people who have gone to a professional trainer, and week 1 of their basic obedience dog course, they put a pinch collar and a e-collar on them.
Yeah.
And it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me, because it's I know that I can teach a dog all their basic obedience behaviors without any of those aversive tools. And so
just patience.
Yeah. And honestly, basic obedience, you can still do it in a 6-week course without those tools.
Mm-hmm.
It does not take any longer. And they've actually done studies on that to say that aversive training and positive reinforcement based training are there is actually no difference in timeline. It's
same timeline.
Yeah.
So I have did I ever tell you about the story how my neighbors called the cops on me?
No.
For my dog's barking.
Oh, no.
Dog barking.
Yeah.
For one, my dog doesn't this is actually the reason why we got the collar in the first place.
Yeah.
Because before I just reached a point where he would bark at I'm gonna be that neighbor. He would bark in the morning to wake me up, to tell me he was hungry, and sometimes he would bark for 10 minutes. But could you imagine if your house was close enough to where you could hear your neighbor bark every morning at 6 a.m?
Yeah.
How pissed off you would get.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the dog.
Yeah.
Wasn't your dog.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would be pretty mad.
Yeah.
So giving them that thing, when I put my fence up, because I wanted my dogs to have a fenced yard. Did you know that there is this thing when you build a fence, if you don't, I asked all my neighbors around me. I said, hey, I'm going to build this fence. I'm just letting you know, I didn't want to just start puncturing holes. Here's the line that I'm going to build it on right here. And you have that conversation, right? So this is the backstory to the dog, them calling the cops on me for my dogs barking. That's why I think they did it. But anyway, I built this fence, right? And if you've seen how fences, there's different types of fences, right? There's some fences on this side of the fence, you'll have just only boards, right? And the other side, you'll be able to see the things that the boards are attached to, right? Well, I built this style of fence that has boards on one side, but it also has a cap on it, right? So what I mean by this is it's a nice looking fence, okay? Both sides look okay. You just need to put your own board on the other side.
Yeah.
You need to put your own boards. Basically, what I did is instead of putting that board that you or the piece of wood that you attach the boards to on one side, I put it in the middle. So basically, you just attach both to it. So it goes down, and then you can see the posts, and it's just really beautiful. I'm trying to explain a picture. It's not a fence guy. This is what it did.
Is it one of those ones where you can see the gap? It's there's a board here, and then the other board is on the other side.
No.
Or, okay.
It's fully flush on both sides.
Oh, okay.
So it could be.
Yeah.
Anyway, these people didn't want to pay for the boards on their side. I said, I'm just going to do my side. If you want to put boards on it, I'll do it so you can put boards on your side if you want. You don't need to.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. You can just see the wood, which I don't know if you've looked in the majority of neighbors. Somebody has that side of the board.
Yeah. Yep.
One person has the nice flush side.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Some people don't. Anyway, I get 80% done with this fence. And you know what happens? My neighbor walks out and she says, Austin, I think you're putting it on backwards. I said, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm confused. What do you mean I'm putting it on backwards?
Yeah.
And mind you, this is Russian. So
Yeah.
hard of speaking.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, what do you mean? She's like, this isn't the right side. This side's supposed to be on my side. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
You're like, I'm paying for this. I'm going to give myself the nice side of the fence.
I said, if you wanted to pay for some of it, I would happily put this, I'll put it up for you even. You know what I mean? I'm doing all the work.
Yeah.
If you want to pay for the boards, I'll put the nice side up for you too. Like happily. I had just moved in, bro.
Yeah.
Like 3 weeks into this place. Anyway.
That's the problem, though, is the previous tenant probably never did anything. And then
they just moved in a month before me.
Yeah. So, but then, then you came in and you were just like, I'm going to fix this place up. It's going to be nice.
Exactly.
And then all of your neighbors are like, why is he being
just
so
them.
annoying?
Just them. All my other neighbors are like, why are they tripping, bro?
Yeah.
They got a free fence out of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she hands me the phone to her, somebody else that speaks English better. Mm-hmm. And they said, Austin, so you're actually doing this wrong. This is illegal. You're supposed to put the nice side of the board on your neighbor's side. It's supposed to be facing you. I said, do you guys understand how crazy this sounds right now? To these people. I'm like, I funded this fence.
Yeah.
It's on my property line.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want with it. And she said, well, you should probably call the city. So I called the city, and the city goes, yeah, I don't know what they're talking about, but that's not a thing. Like, you could do it. If it's on your property, do whatever you want. I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So I put the fence up, and as a kind neighbor, I had about 40 extra boards. So I put some up on their side, trying to make amends and be like, yo, I'm sorry I pissed you off for not buying a full fence for you, but this is what I did. And about 6 months ago, we've lived for about 2 years. About 6 months ago, she said, hey, did you know that you need to have a permit to have your dogs in Battleground? She like came over to my house to tell me this, or texted me this or something. And I was like, yeah, thanks. And she goes, can you make them stop barking in the mornings? I'm like, yeah, I'll do my best. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They were not barking for a long time.
Yeah.
But I could understand how irritating it would be, right? But, 2 weeks go by, and I'm working on it with him, trying to get him to stop barking. And I get a phone call from the city. And the city guy goes, or no, it was a cop.
Yeah.
And they have rules. So the rules are, your dog has to be consistently barking for at least an hour before it becomes, before they can do anything about it.
Yeah, and usually they have to like have a recording of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So she would send this guy recordings, right? This is when my dog had puppies too.
Yeah.
She had a bunch of little puppies, so we kept them separate.
Yeah.
When the dad and the mom, you have to keep them separate afterwards. The dad, whatever, tramples or can hurt the babies.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she sent a video of like a bunch of the little puppies like playing in the backyard, like with my wife in the backyard with my kids, and the puppies were like, "Meow, meow,
Yeah.
meow, meow," like in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
And she was like, he said, the guy that called me, he's like, I just want to let you know, like, I'm like, what did she send you, bro? Because like, I'm just curious. Like, I didn't. If I had known it was this big of an issue, I would have said something, right? But he's like, no, she sent me a couple videos, and there's just a bunch of little dogs barking, and it was for like 30 seconds, and then they stopped. So I don't.
Yeah.
I'm just calling you because I got to call you, and if we get another call, then I'm just letting you know there's going to be a guy that comes out to your house and he's a park in front of your house. He's going to listen for like an hour. I'm like, well, this is cool. So I have a stalker.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't handle neighbors.
I've never had an issue at all. And this is the most, like, I'm such a likable dude.
Yeah. And it's
like not trying to be whatever, but
like, I mean, yeah, you're easy to talk to. Like, you're not like going to get immediately like pissed off if they come over and they're like, hey, like your dog has been kind of bothering me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, no. But yeah, instead it's like,
well, not even that. It's just like, I'm like, dude, you didn't give me like time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying.
Yeah. And and the poor police officers too are like,
thanks for wasting our time. Could have called us on better things.
Yeah. Like, sorry. Like I was about to go.
So that's why Murphy has a Zap collar now. But like I said, I've only had to use it like once. Now he just, most of the time I gotten to a point now where this has been a year since we've done this. Yeah. He doesn't bark anymore. Every once in a while, like I said, I lose the remote before I need it by the next time, which is really cool.
Yeah. A lot of stuff too is like training your own family to like, to not do things like, especially if you're trying to like appease somebody else, like just teaching your own family, like don't do the thing the way that it makes the dog bark.
For sure. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I even like we do live on property and our neighbors are not close by, but like the last week I've been sick, and so I've had like a dull headache all week. And Wyatt thinks it's really fun to just like randomly pick up. He had like an exercise ball or something sitting on our kitchen island for like the last week, and randomly he would just pick it up and just throw it as hard as he could at the wall and bounce it back to himself and catch it and put it down. And our dog every time would like nails scattering, like jump up and
Lose
just like
it.
bark as loud as she could. And I'm like, I'm gonna kill you.
Wyatt, what are you doing? It sounds like something I would do, Wyatt.
Yeah, like it's totally like so innocent, but I'm like, every time she's gonna freak out.
I do get it. This is fun, dude.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you for coming and chatting with me today. You know, we are still figuring out what we're doing with this podcast, but I appreciate everybody who tunes in and listens and watches on all of the platforms. So if you could give us a review, hit the subscribe, and keep an eye out for our next episode.
Boom.